What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we're just jumping in with a quick Destiny 2 Season of the Witch video, and in this one we're going to break down some new hidden interactions between exotics. And these are some of the new ones we can play around with this season, so as we've seen in previous seasons, on occasion we'll find that exotic weapons can interact with various armor pieces in ways that aren't necessarily outlined in the descriptions for those pieces of gear, so we'll break down some of the new ones in the video. If you enjoy it, feel free to get subscribed for more Destiny content, and now let's get into it. To give a couple of examples of exotic interactions that we've seen previously, we've had things like Boots of the Assembler and Lumina, and if you pair those together, Warlock Rifts are actually able to feed players Noble Seekers without making any kills. And of course, typically, Noble Seekers will be generated by making kills with Lumina, but when you pair both of the exotics together, there's that sort of hidden autonomous element, which isn't outlined in any of the perk descriptions on the pieces of gear. We've also seen plenty of hidden perks on exotic weapons, such as Touch of Malice, where there are things like after firing the charged with Blight Shot, enemies affected by that take an additional 50% damage for a couple of seconds, which again is something that isn't outlined on the perk description. But focusing again on interactions between two different exotics, others that we've seen previously are things like Necrotic Grips, where it spreads its poison via both Thorn and Osteostreaker kills, and both of those are weapons of sorrow. But it turns out, as some of you guys will know, this season, Necrochasm is actually doing the same interaction. So the raid exotic spreads Necrotic Grip's poison through its Cursed Thrall explosions. Base weapon damage doesn't appear to do it, but the Cursed Thrall explosion specifically will allow it to happen. So that's a third weapon that can interact with Necrotic Grips. But additionally, the Thrall explosion from Necrochasm is actually arc. And so even though it's a kinetic weapon, much like in Destiny 1, the Thrall explosion itself actually does arc damage. And so if you run things like Spark of Discharge on an arc subclass, the Thrall explosions specifically are actually able to create ionic traces, which is pretty cool. Of course, you wouldn't necessarily know that, considering it's a kinetic weapon. And it's worth mentioning it doesn't appear to work with other arc weapon buff exotics, things like Mask of Bakris or Mandal of Battle Harmony. However, it does appear to work with arc-based mods, so it'll double proc Orbs of Power when using an arc or kinetic siphon mod. Also, arc weapon surges specifically will increase the damage of the Cursed Thrall explosion, and even the artifact perk, Monochromatic Maestro, can interact with the arc damage element specifically that comes from that Cursed Thrall explosion. So some pretty interesting elements to know about right there with Necrochasm. But moving away from those, another one that is less known about this season is an interaction between the Mothkeeper's Wraps, which is the new Hunter exotic gauntlets, and the Exteris, the Season Pass exotic weapon. And so with Mothkeeper's Wraps, your grenade becomes a cage of loyal moths that release on impact and fly towards the nearest target or ally. If they reach a target, they detonate in a blinding explosion, but if they reach an ally, the moth will grant the ally a void overshield. And the Exteris has loyal moths, and final blows with this weapon create a loyal moth. The moth will seek out nearby targets and detonate, damaging and blinding them. However, when you use both of them together, every single time you fire a round from Exteris, kills will actually release the Void Moth from the Mothkeeper's Wraps. So you can see right here, instead of just getting the standard moth from the grenade launcher, we additionally get the Mothkeeper's Wraps moth, until you pretty much get a Void Overshield every time you make a kill. Of course, that can also benefit allies as well. So just cool to check out some of the new hidden interactions between particular pieces of gear this season. There have been a handful of others in the past as well, so if you guys are interested in seeing more of them, perhaps it's an additional video we could work on in the future. But for today guys, that's what we have to speak about, so let us know if you've played around with any of these interactions, or even took advantage of them in builds and things like that. But if you've enjoyed the video today, a rating below really does help us out. Plus, if you're new to the channel, feel free to get subscribed and I'll keep you posted with more Destiny content. Otherwise though, for now, thank you for tuning in, and I hope you guys have an awesome day.